Hey guys, what's up? So I want to share my process for coming up with a new design for my next site, which is called basho.me, which is going to let you find haiku in your tweets or in anyone's Twitter account, basically. And it will also allow you to buy merchandise. So I have three main goals for the site. The first one, obviously, is to get people engrossed in it, reading tweets and whatnot, and just to have an emotional reaction to the page when they land on it. So I want the design to be really spot on. Excuse me as I catch my breath here. Just running around outside. Anyway, the next thing I want is that people actually input their Twitter handle, or they put in a Twitter handle of a famous person or someone they know, to basically check that person's account for haiku. And the third thing is to basically buy something, because you will be able to order t-shirts and mugs and prints and whatnot with various haiku on there. So those are the three main goals, kind of in order of chronological order, I guess, that I want people to accomplish on the site. So, so how do I come up with a new design? Well, I've more or less wireframed it, but I'm just going to walk you through the process of how I came up with ideas for the wireframe. Because, you can't always just sit down and have an idea and just put it on the wireframe. You kind of have to have some inspiration first. So this was my process. As someone who's not great, my strength is really back in development. That's what I mainly do. But developing my styling sense is something that I'm really working hard to do. So this is how I came up with my ideas for the wireframe. So I'll just walk you through it. So this site, awards.com with 3 W's, is a great resource. I guess people post up a bunch of websites and they get voted on. And it's a great way to just, get ideas for whatever projects you're working on. So you can't really go off these thumbnails because a lot of these are there's a lot going on if you actually visit the sites. So I really recommend you check this out. So this was the main resource I used just to get ideas. But actually, I didn't really start here. I just stumbled upon this website just completely randomly, and I thought it looked okay. I like the idea of squares. I like the idea of interspersing. My tweets would be here where you see this burgundy color square here, interspersed with images. I thought that would be kind of cool. Maybe have some kind of a pagination. I'm not sure if you can see. I think my image is down here in the bottom right, but there's some pagination on this blue section here where I could display different tweets. So something like that. And also, this page is responsive in a really nice way. There's actually a white border around all the content, no matter the screen size, which is not going to show up in this video because the bottom is cut off, but yeah. But it's a pretty solid website. So this got me thinking, okay, I'm going to basically display tweets on the front page in sort of a square format and intersperse them. So squares is what I was thinking at this point. The next site I found from the awards page, this page right here, was this web gradients page, which is just a resource for developers. I'll reload it for you so you can see all the effects. But it just shows you different gradients you can use, so it's meant for designers and whatnot. But it has squares, and it has kind of not really an infinite scroll. I think there's a finite number of gradients they have here. But I kind of like the way that they appear. They sort of faded in, and they sort of move upwards a little bit as you scroll down. So they kind of come in an interesting dynamic way. It's not like they're just all there on the page, like most sites would be. So I sort of like that. I thought, okay, well maybe I can have basically squares with a haiku in each square. So yeah, so that was kind of the next idea, and also found this cool website. I might take a color scheme or something from it. Next website was this one, Startup Lab. And what I really liked about this site is that they use squares, but they're not just boring ass squares. So in the gradient thing, it's just like, rows of 3 and it never changes. This one is, different size squares overlapping, and they're a little bit more dynamic. So when you roll over one, it gets bigger, and it just gets on, is moved up in the order of hierarchy. The Z index or whatever is increased relative to the other ones. So, and also if you can see, if you move around the cursor within a square, the image background on the typography actually moves as well, which is kind of cool. So, all right, so that actually seemed pretty cool because, in hindsight, like if you go back to this gradient page, it actually looks pretty boring compared to this page with sort of the overlapping squares. So I thought, all right, I'll do some kind of overlapping squares or just something a little bit different than just a regular grid of squares. And then this one is also square related, so I'll show it next. And then this one, you know, has background images on their squares. And I kind of like the idea of only showing maybe 3 per page, so a limited number, and then maybe having a call to action. So this blue square, I don't know if you can see it, there it is, might be, you know, input your own Twitter handle or someone else's Twitter handle to basically look up haiku in their feed. And I also like the use of white space on this page. So along with the idea of, like, part of the thing with haiku is that they're supposed to inspire a moment of satori, if you're into like Eastern philosophy, which is like a moment of presence. That's why some of them are like really wacky, you know, describing nature scenes. They're supposed to just put you in that moment, to give you a little moment of awe, if you will. So part of that is not just being completely cluttered with 1,000 haiku at once, because if you have like 19 haiku on the page, you're not really going to be focusing on any one for any length of time. So that's one of the reasons I like this, was because there is that white space and there's not a huge amount of things that are going to distract you. If we go back to this gradient page, you know, you're looking at like 9 of these things at once, or, you know, a good number of them at once. So you're not really going to consider each one too long. So that can be good for some things, like maybe it's great for this gradient page. But for haiku, where it's really a poem that's meant to kind of put your mind in a certain state, it's less than ideal. So Pixenio kind of got me thinking along those lines. Increase the white space, reduce the number of haiku that are actually shown per page. So, and by the way, this is sort of the progression of my thoughts. That's why I'm presenting these in a certain order. I actually looked at a bunch of different websites, maybe, I don't know, 40 or 50. But these are just the ones that sort of gave me meaningful ideas. And the next site is this one. Whoop, I'll just reload it real quick. Serving.green, which is a cool little site. And this is one of those, I don't know if you've come across these sites, but they take over the cursor and they present a story to you. Like the New York Times does this a lot, I think. And just other sort of journalistic websites tend to do this, where they only present like maybe a couple phrases of text per page. And every time you scroll down, it actually takes over the cursor like that and just shows you one thing in the center of the screen. And I thought this was really creative. So they got a little background video. And it's a great way of presenting content. And so I thought, you know, normally I don't really like this taking over the cursor functionality. I don't think it's appropriate for most pages. But for telling a story and for presenting small bits of content just front and center, it's really, really impactful. So for the haiku thing, I thought, okay, well, I don't necessarily have to do squares. In fact, this might be better because it really, you know, this would be a chance to present one haiku or 2 or 3 just like front and center. You know, probably just one at a time on, so 1 per page. And then I got pretty excited about that idea, and that's kind of I decided to basically go with that. So this is basically what I'm going to do, is do 1 haiku per page, or maybe 2 or 3 per page, possibly with a grid view also. But at least for the front page, just present 1 at a time so that people really actually read each haiku. And also the background image could change for each haiku, or maybe even have some background video, like I don't know, like snow falling, or, you know, a quiet forest or something like that. So next website, actually I have no idea what I guess they're selling clothing here, Japanese clothing, but it just kind of reminded me that having sort of a Japanese themed, you know, maybe if it's Japanese typography or some kind of influence from Japanese architecture, or those traditional Japanese prints like with the big wave on them or so forth, something like that would be kind of nice, because it is you know, haiku are originally from Japan. So, and also they have a pretty subtle Ken Burns effect in this photograph, so it kind of zooms in, which is kind of interesting. And you don't see it a huge amount, so I thought that might be kind of cool to add. I'm still not 100% sold on that yet. And then this website, just someone's portfolio page, has a really nice just background video. So that's another possibility. Along with this, you know, 1 haiku per page thing, there could be some maybe one background video or maybe several, or maybe interspersing background video with just stills. So yeah, those are some of my ideas. I've pretty much wireframed it already, which I'll show you in the next video, but that could be sort of the main page. Basically something similar to this, where it just shows one thing at a time, one haiku at a time with some interesting background. So yeah, that's it. That's basically how I came to, that was my basic process for coming up with my ideas for the wireframe, and I'll show you the wireframe in the next vid. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.